I'm Dr. Janice Frederick, and I'm the Director of Clinical Services for the ABRITE organization. And I am here today to talk a little bit about the ABRITE Research Lab. At ABRITE, we have always demonstrated an unwavering commitment to research. We have always functioned as research practitioners at ABRITE, and much of our research has actually been pretty heavily concentrated in the area of outcome research, looking at our outcomes at the level of the individual client, and then also looking at our outcomes at the level of really the whole client population that we serve. So we've done outcome research looking at services that we provided to early start clients. We've looked at our outcomes with our school-based clients that have been served in the context of our collaborative programs with local school districts. We've looked at our outcomes time and time again for our insurance-based clients that have received varying levels of intervention and have, of course, come in with various needs and differing skill sets. But everything we do at ABRITE, we've approached as research practitioners because that is how Dr. Robbie and myself were trained. And with the addition of Dr. Rogers as part of our senior clinical team, we could do nothing but that. So, whether it is how we train our RBTs or how we provide performance feedback to our clinical staff and our administrative team members, we are always looking at it and approaching it as researchers, because it is important to us that is the eye or the manner in which we are taking on what we do. So, we have always presented our research at state and international conferences, and we've supported our clinical team members in attending those conferences with us. We have supported clinical team members, at the level of really behavior interventionists and beyond at being active participants in research, in that, we've allowed them opportunities to serve as research assistants, to graph data, to support in the analysis of our data. We have taken on teaching others to develop their own research projects and to present those research projects at conferences. And this is something that we've done for the 13 years that ABRITE has been around. But what we did really take on in 2018 was formalizing a research lab. And we had always gotten together as a really senior clinical team and talked about our research and worked together to analyze our data and prepare for conferences and share those data with one another. But what we didn't do is we didn't, in a formal sense, take on identifying, a set time and space where we would get together as a group of researchers with all different repertoires when it comes to research, and to strengthen one another's skills. And so we decided to formalize that and actually have an ABRITE research lab that met at a given time and day once each month in September of 2018. And so in taking that on and developing that in a more formal sense, what we felt it was important to do was to say, we have clinical team members, and those team members that are really invited to take a consistent part in lab are those that are at the clinical supervisor level and beyond. What we took on is that everyone is coming to the table with different skill sets when it comes to research. Dr. Rogers, Dr. Robbie, and myself, of course, as doctoral level behavior analysts, a lot of our graduate work was focused on developing our research skills. And so, we have a different skill set, and we wanted to make sure that we weren't holding the expectation that everyone that participated in lab was coming to the table with those skills. What we wanted to do was take on, in a more scripted sense, teaching our team members how they could become researchers. And how we started to talk about it, think about it, develop it out was to say that, there are different levels of being a researcher. And the first step is really learning how to consume research. And by consuming research, it's not just reading a research article and regurgitating it to someone else, or writing down the important parts of the research article, or sitting in a research presentation and being able to talk about what the results that those investigators presented were. It's being able to take a critical eye, an analytical eye at that research, and understand the research design that was utilized, how it might make sense to make changes or modifications to that design to make the research itself more powerful, how to analyze outcomes and think about how those results could be extended, to think about dependent measures and be able to really talk about the strength of those dependent measures. And so for us, we wanted to say, we need to make sure that our clinical team members, especially we're sending them to conferences, we're really saying, look at research, stay in touch with the behavior analytic research. That's important to us. But we said that we really had to take on teaching our team to be able to consume research in a meaningful way. And so that's a part of it. And then the other pieces were, once we felt like, a team member could consume research, how could we help empower them to participate in research, to participate in research projects? And then, the goal really is that for those that are interested, and everyone has different personal goals in terms of which level they want to sit at. Some team members might just want to stay in the place of, I want to be a really effective consumer of research, and that's okay. Others might be interested in just kind of getting their hands wet when it comes to research and serving as a research assistant, and contributing in more minor ways to our research project. But we wanted to empower our team to go all the way, right, to really strengthen that repertoire of research and help a team member over time be able to design, develop their own research projects, and then to present those projects, publish those projects. And so that is how the levels of the ABRITE researcher were developed. That's a little bit of the historical piece. And so now we meet formally as a lab. We meet once a month. It typically is the second Thursday of every month. It's a brown bag meeting, meaning you're able to bring snacks, lunch. We do it right at noon. We meet for an hour, and we talk about all different kinds of things. Sometimes the meetings are very training based in nature. They all involve some kind of training, or provide training to those that attend. But some are much more topic-based, like teaching you how to read and critique a research article, teaching you how to present research that's been conducted by someone else to a group. How do you do a lit research? So some of the labs are more heavily focused kind of on that level one, and I'll talk more about that in a moment. And then a lot of our meetings involve our lab members presenting or sharing their own research, and looking for feedback. And that is the way that we can help one another strengthen our own research projects. We all have something to learn. Even those of us that maybe have stronger research repertoires can learn from one another, can learn from being asked questions about our research design. Yeah, I can speak from personal experience that what's been offered to me in the context of some of our lab meetings have really made some of the research that I've taken on much more powerful. And so, yeah, it's been really awesome to take our research meetings, which have always been happening at ABRITE, and to formalize them. And I'm going to talk now about the levels of the researcher at ABRITE. What we say is, we have 3 identified levels of research. And what we ask each lab member to take on is to self-evaluate which level they would identify themselves in. And that's the manner in which they should identify their goals for their participation in our research lab, is to really think about, okay, I have self-evaluated and determined that I'm functioning at this level as a researcher. And so that is what I'm going to personally take on and try to extract from the lab meetings, and not just from lab meetings, but from, my general consumption and participation in research as a behavior analyst or as a behavior analyst in training. What we have said is that a level 1 researcher at ABRITE is someone that's in the process of developing skills related to consuming and sharing the research literature. Level 1 researchers are acquiring skills related to conducting research, but by supporting ongoing research projects that are led by a more senior ABRITE researcher. A level 1 researcher attends lab meetings with regularity, which I will say it is a requirement that and we are completely open to someone just testing out lab and joining us for a couple of our lab meetings. But we're saying that once you become a lab member, we're asking that that team member really does commit to attending all scheduled lab meetings. Of course, things come up from time to time, and that's completely fine. But a team member is not going to make progress. It's very unlikely that their skills are going to be strengthened when it comes to a research repertoire if you're not attending lab with regularity, unless you're taking on something else related to honing in or acquiring research skills outside of the lab. So it is important that that you attend with regularity, no matter what research level you self-identify yourself at. Let's see. A level 1 researcher does complete literature reviews, and may be in the process of utilizing some of the skills that I just talked about to develop a research pilot in an area of interest by examining and considering what existing research there is in that area. So that's kind of how we think about a level 1 researcher. If you're not sure, I'm going to go through the levels right now, but if you're not sure, like where to evaluate yourself, you're like, I don't know, where do I fall? I'm kind of in between. Then you can reach out to your clinical director, and she will support you in helping you identify like where you kind of best fit. A level 2 researcher at ABRITE is someone that's in the process of attaining skills related to developing research, including but not limited to experimental design, data analysis, and interpretation. A level 2 researcher maintains skills related to critically reviewing research. That's presented in a variety of different formats. A level 2 researcher, of course, got to attend lab meetings regularly, and then also participates in article review tasks, completes literature reviews, and has supported ongoing research projects, and may even be taking more of a leadership role when it comes to ongoing research projects. In addition, they participate to ongoing projects, and it may involve the project itself, if they're like taking more of a leadership role as a level 2 researcher, it may involve extending some of our previous work, like some of our we've done a ton of outcome studies out of ABRITE. So extending some of the previous work, utilizing research designs that have already shown to be effective in doing this kind of work. And, a level 2 researcher may be in the process of developing or running a pilot in an area of interest. I mean, that's a really cool thing about learning how to become a research practitioner and then functioning as a research practitioner is taking on areas of interest, learning more about something that you find really exciting or engaging in the area of behavior analysis and its clinical applications. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are taking on a huge project. Functioning as a research practitioner oftentimes means looking at something in a more methodical manner with one client that you're working on. I mean, that's the starting place. That can be a pilot. And so I think those are opportunities and different skills that being a part of the ABRITE Research Lab really affords those our lab members. So, functioning as a level 3 researcher. So, a level 3 researcher is in the process of continued skill growth in research design and dissemination of research. A level 3 researcher maintains skills related to research design and implementations. They're already pretty skilled in this area. In most cases, a level 3 researcher has experience presenting his or her research at state and/or international conferences. Of course, attends lab meetings, and takes a definite leadership role in developing our overall research program at ABRITE. Our overall research program is not like one specific line of research. We have several lines of research that we've taken on at ABRITE. As I said, our largest line of research has probably been our outcome work, because we've done so much of it over the course of the last over a decade at this point. But that doesn't mean that our research just fits into a box. We're doing all different kinds of projects all the time. Right now at ABRITE, we have 8 ongoing research projects, all of which are very, very different. Some are working with general education students, some are related to developing skills of our registered behavior technicians. We have our activity tracking study in place for our team members, getting them to increase their steps. So we have a lot going on. And it's not as though it's like the line of research that you participate in, right, will look like this. It's definitely not a straight line in any capacity. Oftentimes, our level 3 researchers are participating in mentorship of our level 1 and level 2 researchers. And our level 3 researchers are all critical to enhance the quality and expansion of our research program at ABRITE, because they're not only modeling successful implementation of the scientist practitioner approach, but they're engaging a ton in collaboration and feedback to be able to contribute to the work of others. And so those are the levels of the researcher. This is actually in handout form as well, describes each of the levels in the detail that I just reviewed, and that can certainly be shared. I am more than happy at any point in time to talk to any of our team members about their interest in research, their interest in participating in our research lab. And Dr. Rogers and Dr. Robbie are also, functioning as level 3 researchers at ABRITE, of course, and happy to talk more about this. So that's all I have to share, and I hope to see you at our next lab meeting.